As many of you know, I grew up in deep Appalachia. I now live in Atlanta, Georgia, and there are times where I'll tell my friends stories from what happened to me when I lived out there, and they're like, "What?" I already posted about my UFO story last year, and that video got to like 3 million views. But today, I'm going to tell you guys the story of when I was a kid and I encountered a skinwalker. Or at least what I thought was a skinwalker. I hate long intros, so I'm just going to get into the story. The place I lived was a place called Jasper, Georgia. It's right next to LJ, and I lived in the place where the show Squidbillies was based on, and we have a Squidbillies shrine in our town center. I had a friend that I would stay with pretty often, and her family owned a 300-acre farm. And when I say family, it's just her and her mom who live there. And so they have like all these farm animals, and they have different parts of their land that you have to walk through trails in the woods to get through. Like, in order to get to one barn, you have to walk through the woods for like 10 minutes just to get there. So there was one day that I was sleeping over there, and we had been home alone all day. I was probably in 3rd grade when this happened. Some of you might ask why me and my friend were just like 2 3rd graders alone on this farm. And it was because my parents were getting a divorce, and so I needed a place to go, so I pretty much lived with this girl at the time. But back to the story. So my friend's mom was on the way home, but I guess there was like a lot of traffic, or she was running late or something. So she called my friend and she asked her if we could like go down to one of the barns and feed the horses before we went to bed. So at this point in time, it was probably like 8 o'clock. The sun was going down. It was about to be nighttime. You could still see the sun and the light when you're in the open field, but in the woods, it was like pretty dark. Like there was no sunlight. So my friend and I started walking through the pasture to the woods, and she had a flashlight with her. We got to the woods, she turned the flashlight on, and we started walking. We were walking for maybe like 3 or 4 minutes through these woods, so we're about halfway through the trail, and we're just talking about some shit and laughing. And then all of a sudden, my friend just stops talking, and like I was kind of just like looking at her, like as we were speaking. I wasn't really looking in front of me. And then she just like drops the flashlight and starts sprinting in the opposite direction, like back to the house. And so I was like, "You okay, Rebecca?" And because that was her name. And I turn and I see her sprinting, and the flashlight was just like on the floor in front of me. And I was like, "What the fuck?" So I turned back in front of me, and I just see like maybe like 10 feet away this gigantic like white figure. And I didn't look at it for long, but just like the sheer height of this thing, whatever the fuck it was, scared me so badly that I looked at it and immediately was like fight or flight mode. Like I felt danger. So right when I looked at it, I turned the other way and fucking booked it. I was running faster than I'd ever ran before. So fast that I passed my friend, and I was like running and pissing my pants at the same time. Like that's how fucking scary it was. And so I ran all the way back to her house, and in my brain I was like, what is the one place I can hide right now where no one will find me? And the only thing I could think of was like I just ran to the laundry room and I got in the dryer. And so I was just sitting in the dryer, and it was like one of those old school dryers. It wasn't like plastic clear cover, so it was just like a white door that closes it from the front. And so I was just in there. I was like curled up in a ball, and I waited like, I don't know, what seemed like 15-20 minutes. I was just in there covered in piss. And eventually I thought that whatever the fuck was in the woods had like killed my friend, and so I was just crying and like I was freaking out. But I was also terrified and didn't want to die, so I was just sitting in there. And then eventually my friend walks through the door, and I can tell that she's crying and she's like hyperventilating. She's like like I hear that. And so I opened the dryer and she's like scared when I open it, obviously. And I was just like also crying, and we hug each other, and I was like, "Where did you go?" And so she told me that she had ran and she got into like this trailer that was kind of near the house because it was the only place she could think of to hide. And so we were both hiding, and I guess she just like mustered up the courage to run to the main house. And so we were both just like trying to explain what we saw and like put together whatever the fuck that was. And this was like 2008, maybe 2009. So I think I was like 12 or something when this happened, but this was way before like creepypasta or like any of these stories were like even around. So we couldn't even put a name to like what the fuck we saw out there. And so when her mom finally got home, we tried to explain what just happened, and she just like dismissed us, and she was like, you girls are just like overreacting. You guys saw a bear or like a deer or something, which is still terrifying if we saw a bear, but it definitely was not a bear because this thing was like pure white. And in the dark, it's like the only thing you can really see is like if there's someone standing in front of you with a white t-shirt, like you're gonna see that. But this thing was completely white, and that's all I remember is just like this gigantic, like 7 or 8 foot tall thing just like standing right in front of me, staring at me. And so I'm not friends with this girl anymore. I haven't talked to her in probably like 15 years. But I just remember that story, and I remember being so scared that I pissed myself. And the only thing I could think of that being is like a skinwalker. So maybe that is a skinwalker. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I've never told that on here, so I hope you guys were entertained and enjoyed it, and maybe got scared. But anyways, later this week I'm gonna post another story about the Appalachian feral people, because I think I also had an experience with that when I was younger. There was a lot of weird shit that happened. But yeah, thank you guys.
Let's read some more scary stories that were sent to us. This one takes place in the Philippines. I was around 9 years old and we were visiting my grandparents' house. Their house was on a huge piece of land, and the house was right in the middle and had fences all around it. My siblings and I used to play out there, but we'd go back inside around 5 because when it starts to get dark out, it starts to look scary because the only source of light is from the house. As we were having dinner one night, my grandma said that for the past few days, they were hearing tapping noises from the windows and door when no one was around, and they'd hear the water running in the middle of the night. So my mom hired a nanny to take care of my grandparents because she thought they were just imagining things or having hallucinations because they were getting older. The next time we visited them, they told my mom that the nanny quit and left frantically. She said something about a man who watches them from outside every night, and once he even tried to break in. After that, my grandparents hired people to install solar lights all around the land and CCTVs just in case the man came back. Okay, this next one takes place in Canada. One summer night, me, my sister, and 2 friends were going to go on a walk. Mind you, we live in the forest, and it was pitch black outside. We were walking up the road, playing music, having fun. Then we went to a field that wasn't very far from my house. It had a big dirt pile since they were planning on building a house there. We decided to climb the dirt pile, and at this point, we could see a lot of the forest. So I started to try and look into the tree lines because I felt like something was off. It was just very quiet other than the music, so I started to shine my flashlight at the beginning of a small trail, and I saw almost like a human-like figure with huge eyes. It was hunched over and bare. It was nothing but bare skin. I kept shining the light, and I told my friends to look, and they saw it too. We ran back home as fast as we could, and I've never walked outside at night since. Is there Skiggly Wigglies in Canada? There might be. Okay, and this next one takes place in Egypt, which is so cool. We've never had one from Egypt before. So this takes place back in the mid-1900s, maybe 1952, when my grandfather, his mom, and siblings moved into this massive house in Cairo after their dad passed away. At this point, the eldest of their siblings was the one taking care of them. He was very hardworking, and he went on a trip to study as he was getting his PhD. As soon as they moved into that house, There were nails all around the ceilings, perfectly aligned. The house was very clean, which didn't make much sense because according to the person that sold them the house, no one had been in that house for years, but no one really thought much of it. Anyway, after the brother left to study, the other siblings found a book in the house. It was very old and huge. They later found out that this wasn't just any book. It had a bunch of rituals in it that would tell them what would happen in the future. Not too far into the future, just a little before it happens. They started messing around with it. Apparently, they would get a pencil and paper and start saying the verses in the book, and the pencil would start writing. This went on for a while. They were all doing it, and later on, when the older brother came back, he witnessed some very weird things around the house. He would see a girl running around the house, but what made him realize this house wasn't normal was when his mom walked into the room and asked him if he needed her to make him anything to drink. And as soon as she walked away, he saw his mom was actually sleeping right next to him. But by then, the damage was done. One of the sisters was asked to hold the pencil while they did the ritual, and after that, she couldn't stop. She would write all over the walls, and when they tried forcing the pencil away from her, she started scratching random weird symbols into her arms. They even had to tie her hands up for a while. My mom told me that her hands never stopped moving, like they were always moving around as if she were writing something. Their brother made them move out of the house, but what he didn't know is that they took the book with them. To this day, that book is still at my great-grandmother's house. I did ask this person a bunch of follow-up questions, and the story sounds real. I mean, if you're on my page, you believe in the supernatural as well, so this definitely could have happened, and that's really creepy to think about.
If you're easily scared, don't watch this at night. Personal spooky story time, and we're gonna call this one That Wasn't My Brother. When I was about 18 years old, I had gone out, and I had a very strict dad growing up. If you're Mexican or Hispanic, you know, my curfew was at midnight. Thankfully, my sister would cover for me, and she would hide pajamas in the restroom. That way, if I got home late, I would go straight to the restroom, I would change, and if he caught me coming home late, I was already in my pajamas, and I'd be like, what do you mean I was in the restroom? So this specific night, I get home past my curfew, I go straight to the restroom, I use the restroom, wash my face, brush my teeth, put on my pajamas. The way that our house is set up is a long hallway, restroom, my bedroom, my brother's bedroom. But as you're walking to the bedrooms, the living room is right here. So as I'm walking to my bedroom, the house is dark as hell. Our front door has glass and the porch light kind of gleams in. So I'm walking to my bedroom and I happen to look in the living room, right in front of our front door, I see a little boy. And he's standing there. But what's crazy is the way that he's standing in this perfect spot, the light cuts off right here. So I can see from here down, but I can't see his face. His face is literally black. Like I can't see any features. I can't see nothing. I'm not exactly sure what he's wearing, but it looks like overalls or something like that. My first instinct isn't, oh my God, that's a ghost. My instinct is, what the hell is my brother doing awake right now? So I stand there and I'm calling for my brother. I'm literally like, Eric. My brother's name is Eric. So I'm whispering and I'm like, Eric. Trying to make sure that my parents don't hear me because it's about 3 a.m. and my brother is just standing there. And I'm like, God. Eric! Nothing. No movement. Nothing. So I'm literally standing there for what feels like forever, waiting for my brother to cut his shit out and fucking go lay down because I'm about to get my ass kicked. And he's just standing there. So now my wheels are turning and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And when I tell you this is the most I've ever been scared, like I was shook, I was shitting myself. I decide, okay, I'm gonna go to my brother's room. Turn on my flashlight. I'm looking and my brother is asleep in his room. I was so scared. I didn't even go back to my room. Like I was freaking out. I've talked about my mom's house being haunted before. What's crazy is that it's inexplainable because my dad built their house. I'd understand if it was like an older house or something like that, but it was a new house. Like, I have not done any research on the land, if there used to be something there, if something happened there. I have not done any research, but I have seen and heard so many things inside that house. It is fucking haunted. It wasn't a mimic, because now that I think about it, this little boy was definitely younger than my brother, and we've seen him many times. He loves to play peekaboo. We have 2 living rooms in my parents' house, and my mom was always in the smaller living room in her recliner, and a wall separates both living rooms with a half moon, and she says that she'd be there in the morning, and this is the wall, and she could see the little boy like peeking. And when my mom would go and look, he'd kind of like, or if this is the wall, he'd kind of like, you know, but at least it's a friendly ghost. If you guys have any spooky stories that you'd like to share with me, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them. And I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye!
Let's read another scary story that was DM'd to me. It was nighttime and my parents were not home and not close by since we live in a small village and they went shopping in the big city. I was home alone that day with my dog and we were both chilling in the living room. Since it was winter, it became dark outside very quickly, and I have to mention that the living room is right in front of our porch and you can look outside from a big window. I was watching TV when I heard sounds coming from the porch, but I didn't bother to check because I thought it was probably just the neighbor's cat. I couldn't see anything though since our curtains covered the view outside. After a while, I started feeling a little weird and noticed that my dog was shaking and a little out of it, which only happens during fireworks or whatever. I started to feel like I was being watched and went upstairs into my room and took my dog with me. He didn't calm down, and after a while I called my mom, but she didn't pick up the phone. I genuinely freaked out but kept telling myself it was probably just an animal. After a while, I heard someone messing with the doorknob, and to be honest, I don't know what possessed me to leave my room and go downstairs again. I grabbed a glass bottle to protect myself and approached the door. I screamed that I called the police, but for some reason I didn't, and that they should go away. The doorknob kept being jerked by somebody, so I went to the window I mentioned before to look outside, and there was no one, just the doorknob moving by itself. My dog came down by now, still acting super weird. I opened the door and it stopped. I walked a little across the yard since I had no idea what was going on, thinking I'd find a reasonable explanation. Suddenly, I heard a noise of something breaking and my dog started barking at something very loudly. I turned around and saw our wooden cross, which was hanging on our porch, broken in half on the floor, and I ran inside. I was panicking like crazy, trying to calm my dog down while calling my parents. Half an hour later, they were home and I told them everything. My mom is really religious and started pacing around the house while shouting prayers. My dad was convinced that it was just someone messing with me or someone trying to break in. I still don't know what happened. I just know my dog's reaction must have meant something and everything feels so disturbing to me. This happened in the UK, by the way. This person wants to stay anonymous, but they did tell me that after the cross broke, their mom bought a new cross to replace it, and it fell down and broke the same day that their mom brought it home. And then their mom started spraying holy water all over the front porch, and since then, nothing has happened. So I guess the holy water is working. Thank goodness.
Here is a horror story that happened to me and my best friend. If you don't believe in paranormal activity, just scroll because I'm not going to argue with you guys in the comments. So basically, for a little bit of background information, every single time my best friend comes over, no matter the weather or anything, we usually watch a scary movie and then go for a walk. Don't ask why, that's just what we like to do, and usually there's like Taco Bell or some food in there too, but that's just what we do. We were like, let's go for a walk. Now, where we chose to go for a walk might have been where the part where we messed up, but we always go back here. Like, I go back here with my other friends. Like, usually it's fine. I've had 1 or 2 experiences back there, but that's for another time. Basically, it's like houses lined up, and behind their house and behind their backyard is like a small pathway where you can walk. And the pathway leads to train tracks and like a park. It's not even like a park. It just has swings and this huge slide. That's it. So I think it's like dead summer, and we immediately walk outside and a huge cold breeze just smacks me in the face. And I specifically remember that because right after that, I just got this bad, like, tension in my body that I didn't like at all. And I kind of, like, brushed it off just because I wanted to go for a walk. Like, I was bored. So, like, I didn't say anything. But she was feeling the same exact thing. And I figured that out after this happened. So maybe we both should have just spoke up, but whatever. Since we were both feeling a little, like, scared and, tensed up, Aubrey started telling me a story. And I don't know what it was about. I think it was like this girl stealing someone's boyfriend. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but the most important part is when she was telling the story, she specifically said they were saying this girl had a weird face. And I don't know if this was actually what happened, but in my head, she kept repeating it. She kept saying, this girl had a really weird face. Again, I don't know if she was actually repeating that or if that's just the thing that stuck out to me. But in my head, she said that 10 times. She was just like, she had such a weird looking face. Like, Megan, it looks so weird. It's like, I don't know. That's just like the only thing I remember her saying. And then she said something about like it looking like disformed. And I was like, all right, okay, let's stop. I was like, all right, let's stop because I got this god awful looking scary girl in my head and I could not get it out. Specifically remember a huge ass cold breeze smacking my face again, and that's when I was like, oh my fucking god, my body like tensed up. I got like the chills and I wanted to say, Aubrey, we need to turn back, we need to go back. Like something in my head was saying go back, go back, go back, go back, and we kept walking. Just because sometimes I don't know if it's just because I'm being a pussy or if it's my body actually telling me go the fuck back. So I was like, okay, maybe you're just scared, keep walking. So we kept walking. Okay, I'm getting kind of scared because my room's in the basement and like the door's right there. I don't like, it's like too quiet right now. It's okay. We're walking and we hear two branches crack behind us. And I'm like, I shoot my head back and I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, yeah. I was like, it's fine, Aubrey, just keep walking. So we keep walking and we hear more movement behind us, not trees like or branches cracking, like more like just like movement, like kind of like bushes moving. And I was like, bro, do you hear that or am I tripping? And she's like, no, I hear it, Megan. So I'm like, okay, whatever, just stay calm. And then it happened the third time and we bolted. Like we didn't even see anything at this time, we just ran, right? Aubrey was a little ahead of me because the thing is like anytime anything like this happens, I like when everyone's in front of me just so I can like make sure everyone's there. And right behind Aubrey, and you guys saying this, I know you guys are not going to believe me, but you please believe me because I'm not lying. Like genuinely from the bottom of my heart, not lying. And I was almost throwing up and crying after this, like genuinely. So standing behind Aubrey, well, chasing Aubrey actually, is this tall black man with a long stretched out face. He didn't really have a face. He just had like a long mouth and like long eyes, kind of like that, all black body. And he was like hovering over Aubrey because it's like he was right there. He could have like got Aubrey if he wanted to. But he was just like kind of pacing, like this was Aubrey and this was him, and he was just like kind of pacing with her, if that makes sense. And I'm just like running, like I'm running basically next to it, and I'm just like looking up at it. Like I didn't say anything, like I didn't. So we get to one of like the houses, because like I said, we're a pathway behind houses. So we come out where we can like kind of run out in one of their front yards, if that makes sense. So we get there and I like put my hands on my knees like this and I'm breathing heavy and I'm crying and Aubrey's like, Megan, what was that? What the fuck was that? And I'm like I can't breathe because I don't think she saw it. If I'm wrong, Aubrey, correct me in the comments. I don't think she saw it, but I'm out of breath, like crying, and I'm like, Aubrey, I'm gonna throw up. I can't catch my breath. And she's like trying to hold me and like walk me down the court because basically I live on courts. And so we were trying to get to the end to get like to the main thing, if that makes sense. If you guys want me to, I can like always pull up a map and explain it, but that's like, I don't know. And so we're walking and I'm not even joking. You can tell I'm just looking back every single second. I'm like, I'm not joking. I tell Aubrey, you look forward, I'll look back because we need to make sure like that wasn't someone real. Even though deep down I knew it wasn't because he was right there. He was literally right there. I just heard something on my door. No one better try to scare me right now because I will actually fucking kill someone. I'm actually scared. And thinking back to this, oh my god, now I'm hearing shit. We got back and I'm like crying and I don't even know what we do. Oh yeah, we come in my room. We sit down, still out of breath. And then that's when we kind of like calm down a little because, you know, we're in my room, we're safe. But we're still like looking around my room, like we don't want to leave my room. Like it was just so bad. I don't know, but whatever it is, we haven't gone back since. So, yeah. But thanks for watching my story time, guys. If you guys want more, comment, because I have so many more, because stuff has happened in my house, at other people's houses, around my house, and yeah. So, love you guys. Bye.